Hello, perceptive reader. This is James Lynch. I want to reference the podcast that I made a day or so ago, where it's called The Sage's Lifetimes, A Walk of Knowledge. I'm referencing that because this title that I'm going to have here, it won't be in that same series, but it is something I want to share with you. And after I share this account with you, hopefully you'll go back and listen to on my buymeacoffee.com/James Poeartistry, buy me a coffee page. You'll listen to that podcast there. Now, your environment can be very helpful in molding your personality. So I'm totally talking about in a positive way, uh, who you talk with, what type of friendships you have um, on that level, and in that nature. Let me mention that, and in that nature. You see, persons who have had difficult backgrounds growing up eventually receive the needed help and care all through just that type of environment that they needed, which was certainly what I would say blessed by God. So I continue to emphasize to you all that people do grow, people do change. And you know what? They can even do it without a whole lot of strong arm methods. That is where the argument, if you will, comes in at times, or the friction comes in at times between my spiritual philosophy and view and quite a number of others that I've dealt with throughout the years. You see, the methods that some persons I've known will use, I wouldn't bit more use in the world. And on top of that, my strong research and knowing on this matter, I still continue to tell you the truth today. Even God wouldn't use them. So you can have a person um, considered honorable and things of that nature, with great authority and power, can even be looked upon as being very smart or wise. What persons have to realize sometimes that there are decisions made, uh, sometimes in gray areas, sometimes not even gray areas. But it's just a factor of someone having the authority to make this type of decision, then it becomes the final say. You see, it becomes the final say. And so, people just go along with it because even the law of this policy or that policy may be corrupt. People are forced or coerced to have to follow it. So, and then in those situations, we know the Almighty God actually sees what is going on. And if He moves something to respond in a certain way, and then He will do it. If He doesn't, He doesn't. All the same, the scriptures are very clear that in the end of all matters, God will have everything back in a beautiful, beautiful a way of being, of learning and growth. And the same strong arming tactics that I told you people will use on one another today, uh, they won't be used in the future. And I know that may be seeming hard to believe it right now. You just have to remember what I've shared with you over the years in my podcast, that the only reason why human beings have to be treated in this way at times, you see, and I'm talking beyond the good working out toughness body training and things of that nature. See, I'm not even talking about that in a physical way. I am talking about in a mental, emotional, spiritual, you see, psychological way. That's what I'm talking about. That the reason why persons are sometimes placed in those type of scenario and social experimentations and things of nature, at least for the ones who think they're doing it for a right reason, okay, uh, is because human beings have had a serious messed up situation, defect, if you will, of our spiritual capacity to really grasp and do what God would want us to do perfectly. And that's what Jesus' ransom sacrifice is, all about, covering that for us. Some human beings see in different ways, the same way you like certain things or don't like certain things. It's the same way that some people sin in certain ways, that you can speak to them and just explain what the situation is, and they'll continue to strive hard never to do it again, or they certainly would. It would show that they're working on it. It's not something that they make a practice of, okay? And then you have some individuals that are literally just that hard headed. They are hard headed. And it's almost like that's when persons say they need to use these other means on this way and that way, which is on a level that I've described as another form of trauma, really. But they think it's trauma for your own good. Okay. And yet, those are not the methods that I encourage anybody to use. So that's why, I mentioned to you, your environment does matter. And I've seen the same effect that people want to use this harsh trauma on everybody, so to speak, to to gain a certain form of understanding about life and how to function. See, in my mind, I still say no. You put another name on it, you put another situation, but I tell you what, the same way a rose by any other name would still be a rose or smell like a rose, that's the same way I mentioned about abuse of people, psychological and trauma abuse. And when I emphasize it's your environment and the type of person that you may have around you as a friend who can pull out that same type of goodness in you, that same type of understanding that you actually need, or enlightenment, if you want to call it, or what have you, comes about through even better means than having to go upside somebody's head, as we would have to say. And so I'm just talking about that as the many different harsh uh, trauma-based methods that some people like to use. See, the way that Jesus talked on upon the earth, he always came more from a standpoint of, remember, let me make the quote, I want mercy and not sacrifice, you see. And then he certainly went around showing how he wanted the ministry done. And it was overwhelmingly uh, proactive of goodness. And it was also, if you notice, Jesus was the greatest prophet of them all. But literally, if you read his ministry and things of that nature, he was not doing his ministry even in the way of Ezekiel, even though he was the greater Ezekiel. He was not doing his ministry like Isaiah, even though he was the greater Isaiah. He was the greater of all the manner prophets, all of them. Moses, the greater Moses. So, yet, the greater Solomon. So, yet, all of these human beings and men Jesus was greater than all of them, and yet the type of work and efforts and building that they did in society, you would at times just see certain aspects of their personality, and they did the work that they were told to do, even if they were going around yelling that, all y'all gonna, if you don't repent, you're gonna die, or what have you. The way some of those prophets were, and yet still look at the way that Jesus did his ministry, and you can see the results of why he did the ministry the way that he did, because even with the type of persons that he was going to be dealing with, not just some one strong man or prophet or what have you, but he knew, he was already saying, everybody is going to be doing the ministry in this way that love me. They're going to be kind. They're going to not go beyond what is written. They're going to understand that even if persons are doing wrong, there's just certain methods they're not going to use on them, especially when I say those trauma-based type of methods, MK and stuff like that. They just wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't do it. And this is something that I want to remind you as well. You know, I realize different people who feel strongly about certain matters in life, discipline and otherwise, or what have you. I realize they have a reason for it. Sometimes, from the innermost parts of their heart, it's a reason why they're so upset about the injustice in the world, and it's a reason why that some have gotten to the point where it's like, I'm not dealing with this type of person anymore, or that type of person, and then they continue, uh, for some, to have fallen into that trap of what Nietzsche talked about, where he said, be careful that when you fight with monsters, that you don't turn into one yourself. You see, and that happens to humans. That's one thing that breaks and vacations help to take the load off of persons in that way, where they are refreshed and things of that nature. You see, and the thing about the ministry again of Jesus, this is what I've said, and I still realize it, and I know it. There are some persons, when I talk about the environment and what they needed to always grasp the empathy that's needed for the people, the understanding of the people, the compassion for the people, no matter what type of experience did Jesus give when ones actually, came to appreciation of what God's house was all about? See, that's the first thing that I still want to continue to emphasize. I even hear persons who, on one hand, uh, you know, they're saying that they're Christ brothers, they're saying that they're Christians, they're saying that. But I tell you what, the way that they actually still view the sanctuary, it's almost like, what, if I was you, I would be careful the way that you continue to talk about the sanctuary. You see, I told you, you don't lump everybody into just one type of group or scenario just because they belong to that group. There are many type of individuals still in God's true house, true organization, true church, and what have you. And so if you end up going on, a very dogmatic statements of trying to make it seem like it's all bad, then it's almost like, well, okay, well, what, what are you? I'm serious. What are you then? But I'm going to tell you, see, what is missing in persons who talk like that at times. Now you watch and listen to this. I talked about the way that Jesus said the ministry would be done. He also talked about different people being given different talents. Okay, and that meant a level of spirituality, capabilities, gifts, and things of that nature. And there were different talents given to different ones. These persons were certainly supposed to go out and bring in more business, so to speak, um, for Jesus. You see, and you can um, actually observe the many different aspects of what that meant. That's what people were supposed to do, and yet we still know from Paul's letters it was all supposed to be done in a very honest, honorable way. you know, honest, honorable way of integrity. That's what I gather from all the letters. You're not supposed to be railroading people. You're not supposed to be going into extreme forms of competition with people. You see, you're not supposed to be um, judging people on such a level where you break his fundamental principles of already meting out judgment against people. I mean, and I'm not talking just you know this is your punishment. You're gonna have to sit in that corner for a little while or what have you. I use that with the mother and the children, things of that nature. No, you actually, the discipline is on a level of what I've already described is trauma basing. That's what I gather from all the letters in the Holy Bible. And that's what I mean when I say people use methods at times and they'll look like it's all wise and it's acceptable in this way and that way. And it's almost like, no, not in the Christian congregation, it isn't. Not in God's sanctuary, it isn't at all. And this is what I told you is missing or not known because it's not experienced at times by some who want to be over something or over a structure, and it's almost like, okay, here's my first question for you. I'm just saying it's no competition, but this is still my question for you. Have you ever had to slow down, walking slower because you were what, helping a widow with her groceries? Have you ever received a phone call in the middle of the night for this reason or that reason, all coming from someone who, again, was a widow? Now, this applies to, men and women. Have you ever had to, because of a single parent mother, basically have to babysit, so to speak, their children all day long while she ran her errands and things of that nature, or he ran his errands and things of that nature? Have you ever had to do that? Have you ever had to receive phone calls in the middle of the night? I mean, 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, because somebody is so frantic. You see, somebody or a loved one is going through a hard time. Somebody is literally being faced with a demonic attack that, see, whether people believe it or not, do happen. Have you experienced any of that? Or has it been more so a lot of just academic reading of the situations and things of that nature, and just trying to make final decisions and judgments on some of these very same people who practically through all their life have had hardship already, hardship on a level that from my opinion and view, you know what? They deserve to be having some type of comfort. They deserve to have a stable income and things of that nature, uh, without a whole bunch of mess from people who haven't gone through all that, from people who would rather just look at their life and so-called live through them vicariously or what have you, but still not picking the points up where they need to be proactive and stop just watching, but actually help, to actually love what justice and mercy really is, and not just saying again everybody is bad, not giving people the benefit of the doubt, keeping in the context of what I'm talking about, because I say again, you got to be wise. But that's my point that I'm making. When when you've heard me say, over the years or what have you, good, you got an interest in God, good. But you know what? Don't bring that hard or harsh way of policies and making money and things of that nature that you have to do in business. Don't you dare come and be putting that mess on God's people like that and making them fight against one another like that. All because, again, you just got a certain person who's still been groomed, so to speak, that certainly looks better. I'll tell you that much. Certainly looks better. But then all the same, almost have this outlook of, well, you still look like what we want. You still fit into, the bloodline of what we want in this way. So in the end, really, we just want to use this other individual who did have such a hard life growing up, done been through hell, wasn't always perfect, but still teaching persons that it is all right to still take another downtrodden individual who's just doing the best that they can and still never want to give them the fruits of their labor, because that person just don't fit into their genes, so to speak. But anyway, take care of yourself.